Jerry was always told by his friends that you're only in high school once. You gotta have fun. You gotta stop taking the IB in school so seriously. Just chill, bro, they would say. He begins believing this and ends up procrastinating on his studies to enjoy the good life. One small bad habit of playing 30 minutes more video games with his friends adds up over time. He procrastinates the wrong way and ends up selling his soul to the IB. Beard studies effectively, gets everything done, and does so through procrastination. Yes, Bjorn procrastinates too. From time to time, he procrastinates. He's shy to admit he does, but he does so strategically, so to make his life more productive. Because he understands how important his IB studies are for his future goals. Even though the IB itself might not be useful, it's a necessary stepping stone towards him living his ideal lifestyle. Despite being a procrastinator at heart, he's able to leverage this tendency to achieve the 45 he strives for, get into his top university, and ultimately build the skills he needs for success for the rest of his life. Hello everybody, my name is Joaquin Revello. I'm a current UPenn Wharton dual degree engineering student, and I got a perfect 45 in the IB Diploma. So for the past 6 years now that I've been working with high school students and middle school students, helping them become more productive, there's actually a consistent theme that I've noticed with the majority of students that I work with, and that is of procrastination. Okay, there seems to be a group of students who love to procrastinate, who feel like they get the most work done while procrastinating. Now, this video is for students who want to leverage that tendency, or maybe who want to get actually more done by utilizing this skill of procrastination. And I call it a skill because there actually is a step-by-step methodology that I teach my students and that I actually use all the time. And in fact, I'm using it right now to film this video that allows me to get more done while leveraging a key tendency of procrastinators. Basically, I decided to make this video after I saw on the IB Reddit that someone got a plus 40 score on the IB Diploma by procrastinating, by doing a lot of the unconventionally quote unquote productive things. And then the more I read and the more I thought about this, the more I realized that they are actually doing the quote unquote conventional productive things, but they're doing it from an interesting twist that is often not discussed. And that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about in this video. So this might be the most valuable video you've seen on the IB study skill, just academic success on YouTube, because if there's only one thing you take away from this video and you are to apply that to your own life and really internalize it and you really take action upon it, that can have a profound difference in high school and for the rest of your life. So for that reason, I strongly suggest you stick through this entire video, as I'm going to be dropping some pieces of gold as well as some Easter eggs, which are special codes that I scatter throughout, which you can type into the link in the description down below and get a special resource. So when it comes to procrastination, there are basically two different ways that you can leverage this as effectively as possible. All right, the first of which is using it as a driver to reach a state of flow. So turns out that one of the biggest drivers for reaching a state of flow is a strong why power, or a strong necessity to achieve your goal. So Brendan Burchard did a research on high performing individuals, and he found 6 separate habits that determine those individuals, one of which is the fact for necessity, which is essentially a measure of to what extent do you want to achieve that goal. So procrastination can actually be a very powerful trigger for you to reach those states of flow. Why is that? It's because when you procrastinate, there's an actual deadline, which means that you need to get it done by that time or else you will face the consequences. And here's the big part. Since there are consequences, there's actually a reason for reaching a state of flow, staying focused, and actually getting the work done. So next time you want to utilize this strategy, ask yourself, how can I add some type of consequence to my work? And really in school, like, we don't really get that many options for consequences. Like, maybe you just get a bad grade, but most of the time you don't really feel that negative impact until months have passed, or maybe even years. So the first strategy here that comes with procrastinating is to add some type of consequence to the work you're already doing, which in many ways is going to mimic the type of procrastination that delivers those states of flow. So next time you want to become ultra productive, achieve states of flow, get significantly more done, add a clear consequence in the sand. And one of the best ways that you can do this is by playing around with the amount of time that you give yourself. All right, as a very practical example, let's say you have some math homework due tonight. Now you can add a consequence at the end if you do or you don't do that homework. Now, hint, hint, it actually turns out that humans are wired for negativity, which means that if you make the consequence bad for whatever chance, that actually will motivate you to do better. So for example, one of the ways that you can add some type of consequence is you can make a bet with one of your friends. Maybe you do a competition and the person who finishes their math homework first, or finishes their assignment first, or does some sort of presentation, or really just anything in any discipline, doesn't even need to be academic, it can really be into anything. For example, the person who loses the competition or loses the imaginary deadline that you set amongst your friends, or it can even be against a brother or sister, needs to do a certain amount of laps around the gym, or needs to do something that is some type of consequence. I remember some of the best best work I've ever done was by winning a bet I had with some of my friends. For example, I used to take Chinese class before grade 11, before the IB. And in my grade 10 Chinese class, I remember that in one of the assignments, I got a perfect 7. And I did that because I made a bet with one of my friends that if I didn't get a 7, I'd have to pay him like $20, something like that. Long story short, there was an actual consequence to me not getting that level 7, which basically means that I went all out on trying to get that number 7. So you can make this fun with your friends. You can make this fun with your brother and sister. You can make this a group challenge, however you want to do it. Find a way to add a consequence. And the reason why I like doing it with people is that if you do it with other people, you're keeping other people and yourself accountable, right? There's an interesting study that shows that people are much more likely to keep others accountable rather than just themselves. And then by adding that consequence, you actually add a period of time for which time is compressed, which again, shoots you into that state of quote unquote procrastinative flow because you only have a limited amount of time to get this thing done. That's why it's so crucial to set proper deadlines, which leads me on to my next strategy. Now, you need to understand that some of my best works actually came from procrastination. For example, my math IA actually came from procrastination. Essentially, the thing I did with my math IA is that I started maybe 1 to 2 months before the IA was actually due. So before the instructor even introduced it, I just did my own research online and I started thinking about it. And then by thinking about it and slowly trying to mold a topic together and then slowly putting pieces together and then stopping and then starting and then waiting until the last minute, it actually gave my mind enough time in the background, right? My subconscious mind. So instead of leaving the entire project until the last minute, I suggest you do part of it right at the beginning, leave it until nearly the last minute, maybe a few days before, so you don't have to cram it all together, and then working on it and then finishing it. And speaking of which, if you're currently procrastinating or cramming your extended essay, you definitely want to check out this Easter egg. Type in the code extended essay into the link down below. That's grizzly.com/Easter egg and type in the code extended essay. And then you get to read my entire essay for free. Check it out, grizzly.com/Easter egg extended essay. So of the two strategies, number one, you want to add some type of consequence, some type of urgency, some type of necessity, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. And then number two is creativity. Now, when it comes to really procrastinating or really doing any work as possible, it is essential for you to reach a state of flow. Because when you're in a state of flow, not only are you able to completely focus in on the task at hand, but you're also able to be more creative. So you get both done at the exact same time. And a few quick ways to do this is to work someplace where they can't find you, right? I made a video about studying my car. If they cannot find you, they cannot distract you. So most of the times when I want to do some deep work in complete focus without any form of distraction or anyone talking to me at all, I'd go to the back of the library where no one would find me, or I would go in my car, or I would go in this obscure seminar room at the bottom of the school. And then another hack that you can use to set up your procrastinating necessity, right, that urgency, is to do what I like to call bomb time, which is essentially when you input tasks into your calendar that you're going to do before a task that you can't move. Schedule a time to study or do work right before that 9 a.m. class. So effectively, that is quote unquote procrastinating because you're creating that necessity for you to study. And again, when there's an actual urgency, when you have constraints on your performance, you tend to do much better. Or you can add a bomb time right before you go out to see your friends. So let's say your friends are going to hang out at 7 p.m. You can start to study at 6 p.m. That way, when 7 p.m. comes, you have no other option than to stop studying. Another way you can do this is through what I like to call game over time, which is basically that during a certain time of the day, maybe it's 8 p.m., maybe it's 9 p.m., maybe it's 7 p.m., at a certain period in the day, the game is over. You can no longer study, you can no longer do work. Not only does this give you actual time to rest and recover, but it also sets up the bomb time that I was talking about earlier, where you're able to actually add a constraint to the amount of time you're studying, so that first of all, you're not studying all day, every day. And second of all, you're better able to reach that state of flow. So overall, understand that procrastination is simply a deadline with a time constraint attached, meaning that you only have a set period of time before an imminent deadline hits. So one of the best ways that you can get the benefits of procrastination, which is that hyper state of focus and flow, is to set up your own deadline and then add your own constraints to that, and then add your own consequences as well. However, I do want to note that this can actually lead to more stress in some cases. So most of the time, I don't actually use this strategy 100% of the time, maybe like 20% of the time, 30% of the time, I add some constraints and then add some stress so that I can thrive in those stressful situations by reaching a state of flow. But do it wisely with the constraints, with the urgency, with the creativity, meaning you do a little bit of work at the beginning and then give yourself some time and then do small check-ins in between so that you can foster your creativity and your subconscious mind, and then you'll be much better off. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments section down below. I do my best to answer all of the questions that I receive. And if you have any longer questions, you can feel free to shoot me an email at joaquinr@wharton.upenn.edu. And until next time, stay grizzly. I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye.